Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel, or hello for the first time. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at the comparison between Col Reb, my 2006 L322, and my 2016 L405 we call Donna the Diesel. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, I'll put a link. I think it's up here somewhere. So check that out if you would. So today, due to a weird set of circumstances, we have a unique opportunity to bring you the only side by side comparison. As insane as it is, we've got three previously owned Range Rovers on the drive. We've got the 2006 L322 4.4 Jag V8. We call him Col Reb. We've got a 2011 CoPart Range Rover. It's got a little, it's got some scrapes on the front end. I think most of it will buff out though. And then we've got Donna the Diesel 2016 L405 TDV6 with the 3.0. I think there's a video out there by like Romans International or something. They're comparing three spec levels of the same Range Rover, the L460, but near as I can tell, this is the only side-by-side comparison of three different Range Rovers in the known universe. So the cool thing about the this celestial convergence is the fact that each one is 5 years apart. We've got the 2006 L322 first facelift. We've got the 2011, which was the third facelift. And then we've got the 2016 L405 where they completely redesigned it. Having them side by side, you can really see the design progression of Land Rover's Flagship. For the uninitiated, because I get this a lot, the make is Land Rover and the model is Range Rover. Just like you have a Ford Mustang, Chevy Camaro, it is a Land Rover, Range Rover. The information I'm going to be giving today is all about North American spec. Over in Europe, I think they had some different trim levels, and they also had, they seem to have had quite a bit more engine offerings over there. Certainly more diesels. Here, we only had the diesel from 2016 to, I think, 2019. Wasn't a very long run, and unfortunately, they're gone. I think it's a great truck. Even though Ford owned Land Rover in 2002, when the first model of the L322 came out, it was largely a BMW product. Call it a 7 Series with a lift kit. That's not true, but I think it may generate some comments. It had BMW power plants. It had a BMW ZF 5-speed transmission. It had BMW electronics. It had BMW plastic bits. First generation of L322 can be recognized by the flat bumper. It had a rectangular grille. It also had square headlights, and I think they were glass, and then the blinkers were in a separate module. So old Col Reb here is the first facelift of the L322. While the exterior saw changes to the grille, sides, and rear, the biggest change was actually in the engine bay and running gear. We'll talk about that in a little bit. You can see that the middle of the bumper was sunk. The main or high beams were intruded into the grille. They got rid of the wipers in favor of wash jets, and this all became one polycarbonate unit, one very expensive polycarbonate unit. This particular headlight and grille combo would carry on through 2009. You can tell that I have swapped out Col Reb's 4-slat grille for an aftermarket unit that makes it look kind of supercharged. After about a decade like this, I'm kind of thinking about taking it back to original after watching Matt with High Peaks video. The second facelift followed hot on the heels of the first one, coming in 2007. The exterior really didn't change, but there were massive changes to the inside. We don't have one of those on the drive, but the 2011 is very similar, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. So in 2010, JLR, how you doing, Ann? You want to be in the video? Are you Insta famous? So in 2010, JLR brought in the third and final facelift of the L322. It would run through 2012, the end of production. It's a little hard to show you because I don't have a bumper or a grille, but I'll put a picture up, and hopefully you'll notice that the eyebrows are more accentuated. There's a deeper dip in the grille. The headlights vertically became shorter, more compact. They introduced LEDs in as daytime running lights as well as in the turn signals. So I think this hood is a little bit more sloped, a little bit more rounded, a little thinner. It's like they were at least pretending to give a nod to aerodynamics. It still has the signature crenellations on the corner, which is nice because you know where all four corners of the truck are. In 2008, Tata Motors out of India bought JLR and went back to the drawing board. They completely redesigned this truck. Tooling takes time, so it was 5 years later, the 2013 model, the first Mark IV or L405 came off the line. Even though it's a completely different truck, you can still see elements of the past. We've got the eyebrows coming out of the bumper. We've got the main beam or high beam dipping into the grille. We still have the crenellations on the hood, but they are much less pronounced. It is a much sleeker transition from bumper to grille to bonnet, and then the windscreen is laid back. With this total redesign came new interiors as well as new power plants. If you saw my video on the review of Col Reb, you'll know that the L322's, the V in Rover, points to where the hood catch is. I think that's kind of a neat quirk. 2006 saw the first year of the AJ V8 4.4 liter naturally aspirated engine. These had been used in JAGs for years and have proven to be a largely very reliable engine. When new, this thing put out 305 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. I haven't driven the sister lump to this, the 4.2 Supercharged. I understand it's a kick in the pants. I think that thing put out like 400 horsepower and had 413 torques, which seems like a lot of torques. This one is 19 years old, has done 233,000 miles, and for the most part has been a great engine. The rocker cover gaskets seem to be kind of a weak point, and the viscous fan, which is tucked down in here where you can't see it, is a giant pain in the ass without the correct tools. I have had to replace the air conditioning compressor. I've done several rocker cover gaskets, and I was also chasing a vacuum leak that led me to take the entire intake system off the middle of the V and replace all those seals. I like the fact that Reb still has a good old-fashioned dipstick. It is foolproof and very convenient. Not exactly sure what old Cecil dipstick did to piss off the entire automotive industry, but these things are about as rare as hen's teeth these days. I like the fact that there's jump ports out here on the passenger side. I think it's pretty universal passenger side, so in Great Britain they would be flipped over to the left side of the car. But I keep Col Reb on a 1 amp NOCO battery charger conditioner. And this makes short work of it. You don't have to stuff your head up under the battery compartment. While we're under here, I'm going to go ahead and jump on my soapbox about my favorite Facebook topic. If you think about it, the engine is on rubber mounts. The transmission transfer case are on rubber mounts. The prop shaft has a rubber bearing or a rubber mount in the middle. All four wheels are isolated by rubber bushings. And so the drivetrain is really electrically isolated. These things have a ground strap that run from behind the arch liner down to the drivetrain, but they get eaten by road grime and yuck. So a few years ago, I was having trouble with cascading faults, and I had also gone through a battery, 2 alternators, and 3 starters. And if you've ever bought a Denso starter, you know how much fun that was. I run an auxiliary ground from the lug under the bonnet here down to, it's a little bit hard to see because it's dark, but it goes down and it attaches to a mounting bolt on the starter. I have a direct ground from the most power hungry component on the truck, essentially straight through to the negative pole on the battery. Ever since I've done this, cascading faults have stopped. I've got the same alternator, starter, and battery. This one's starting to get a little wobbly, but it is 6 years old, and travel knowledge says that these things last 3 to 4 in a L322.
We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
On the 2011, still being an L322, the V points at the hood catch, even when there is no bumper or grille. So what you're looking at here is the direct injected supercharged 5.0 AJV8 Gen 3. This is a thirsty girl. My wife had one of these in her 2011 L320. I think she averaged 14 miles to the gallon in mixed use driving. Theoretically, she touched 18 once, but it was downhill with the wind at her back, and I think she was in neutral. I think she had like a 22-gallon tank, and really all she did was drive from service station to service station. It was kind of like driving an EV without all the government subsidies. If you don't like fill stations, this is not the engine for you. With Col Reb over there in the 4.4, I can touch 20 pretty regularly on a highway run. Around town, it gets about 16.5. The weak spot on these is the timing chain tensioners. They get brittle and break off and don't tension any longer, and you can skip a tooth. According to Carfax, this thing had the chains done at 78.5. It's on about 94 now. I called the garage listed, and they remembered this truck and actually said that yes, the chains had been done. I don't really have much experience with supercharged engines. This one seems pretty smooth. It's got some sounds, but I don't know if those are native to superchargers or not. It may need the supercharger coupling replaced and probably some belts. This thing produces a whopping, or when new, this thing produced a whopping 510 horsepower and 461 pound-feet of torque. So I haven't officially had this on the road, being a salvage and all, but on the private roads that I've been on, this thing does have some giddy up. For the L405, they moved the hood catch from the V, which was cool, to the middle, which is like everybody. You can see that Donna here looks radiant, sporting her newly refurbed 3-liter V6 intercooled turbo diesel. So the TD-V6 is a single turbo. The SD-V6 is a dual turbo. She's got about 111 on the clock. She has a new Bank 1 cam. She has a new timing belt, and she has a brand new turbocharger. When I was swapping out the timing belt, I made an almost fatal mistake, and the good folks up at Bear Valley Services were kind enough to bail me out. Now, it wasn't cheap, but hopefully Donna will be with me for years to come. I have quite a bit of footage on that, but every time I go to edit it, I kind of get flashes of PTSD. So one of these days I might get it edited and put up. The TD-V6 single turbo puts out 254 horsepower, but a massive 440 pound-feet of torque. So this thing only has 20 pound-feet of torque less than the 5.0. Now, that horsepower doesn't sound like much, but with that torque number, this thing has no problem in the passing lane. Donna has all the emissions claptrap that sort of kills efficiency, but even with that, she still manages an impressive 30 miles per US gallon on a run. This same diesel is in my son's 2016 L494. He's on about 86,000 miles. We just did an oil change. If you missed that video, I'll put a link up in the top. So on the TD-V6, the crank seems to be the weak point. That and oil dilution, which actually leads to the snap cranks. But with frequent oil changes and the proper spec oil, you can mitigate some of that oil starvation, and hopefully Donna will live a long, happy life. Diesels really don't like city driving or stop and go traffic. So if you live in a city and you drive, 10 minutes at a time, this probably is not the engine for you. Diesels like to get out on the open road and run. You got to bring them up to temp to burn all the crap out of the diesel particulate filter. Because these don't like short runs, I generally take Col Reb around town, like out to lunch, hauling the dogs around. About the only time in town I use this is when I'm chauffeuring the missus. By the way, this same engine in the Ford world is known as the Power Stroke diesel. Running down the side of Col Reb, the 2006, you can see we've got the side repeater on the wing. These gills are functional. Now, these I swapped out. These are aftermarket. They look kind of superchargy. I may swap those back if I swap the grill back. The mirrors do fold in. They are heated. And one of the nice things, being a Southern truck, All our friends in England and up north have terrible sills. These things are all rotted out. You can see never been touched and in great shape. Coming down the side of the 2011, you can see that we've still got the repeater on the wing. I really like that. I think that's a unique feature of the Range Rover. We've got the, this is a true supercharged gill, so this is native to the truck. We've got folding mirrors, and it has a little bit of an extra pod down here. That's for the radar for blind spot monitoring. So just like Col Reb, you can see that the sill down here is pristine. I think there's probably people in the UK and up north that are drooling over that right now. One of the things that I really like about the Range Rover is the double gasketing. So you can see that we've got a seal here on the inside, but then we've also got a seal on the door. Okay, so when you close this thing, the seal on the door seals in here, and if you're in mud or water or muddy water, it keeps the sill from getting mud in here. We don't want Her Majesty messing up her knickers as she climbs out while she's touring the estate, now do we? Looking down the side of the 2016, you can see that it's a much more rounded profile, almost kind of Art Deco-y. I really like how the headlights come into the wing over here. I don't like the fact that they took the repeater off of here. They moved it up to the mirror, which anybody can do. I liked it better on the wing. The gills are now completely non-functional. In fact, they're on the door. They're not even in the engine compartment anymore. The mirrors are self-folding. They, when you lock the door, they fold. When you unlock it, they unfold. And it not only has blind spot monitoring, but it will also tell you if a vehicle is coming up fast in the next lane. Where the 2011 has a radio key for the push button start, Donna also has the radio key for lock and unlock. Because of the radio key, Range Rover is one of the more stolen vehicles in the UK. They've come up with a way to mitigate that with a battery that goes to sleep. There's a great video by Powerful UK where you get to hear Simon's alter ego, Little Simon. So I encourage you to take a look at that. It's got some sort of a motion detector where if you set it down, I think it's for 3 minutes, it goes to sleep and it's no longer transmitting. And hopefully that mitigates some of the theft over in the UK. The L405 has soft closed doors. And when I first got that, I thought it was a little bit ridiculous, but now when I'm driving the L322s, I kind of miss it. So here's a good look at the back of all of them. We'll look at each one individually, but it's kind of cool just to see them side by side by side. You could certainly see some design elements that were carried forward, and then others that were dropped. This is the back of the 2006. You can see we've got the classic full-size Range Rover split tailgate. They have carried that through all the way to Donna. These are aftermarket lights. You can probably tell. When I took this over from my daughter in 2016 when she got out of college, I thought, let's bring a little technology to bear. I kind of like these lights. Even if I swap out the grill and the gills, I'm going to keep these. I've also put LEDs in the backup lights. These things are awesome. These have terrible backup lights. And I'll put a link to the video Sam with Sam's Motor and Machine. Great channel. Highly recommend it. I'm going to put a link to his video somewhere up here if I can. I don't even know if I can link to his channel. Being a southern truck, we saw that the sills are fine, and also the bottom of the tailgate here. This gets kind of crusty and rusty up in the up north and over in the UK, and so nothing. This is solid as it can be. Eat your heart out. So the OEM backup camera goes up here. This is not the OEM camera. This is $20 unit off eBay. Had to monkey with the wiring some, but it works, and it will. It thinks you're backing into things even when you're 10 feet away, so you just have to kind of adjust mentally. We've got I've replaced this, the high LEDs. Half of them were missing when we bought it, and you probably can't see it, but the paint on the top of this plastic is pretty rough, but this is a 20-year-old truck. I've actually got some Buckingham blue rattle cans, so I may pull those out and repaint this. Let's go ahead and pop the boot. I replaced these struts years ago. It might be time to do it again, although they seem to be holding fine. I really like the hard parcel shelf. I set stuff on it. Right now it's kind of covered in dog hair, but I set stuff on it when I'm working. It's also nice. You can set lighter things up here and heavier stuff. This one being an HSE Lux or a Vogue SE over in the UK. It also had the pet net. My wife would never let the dogs ride back here, but I think it's cool, so I leave it up. Pop that. So okay. I added the damper to this one. It did not come standard. In fact, it didn't come at all. They were standard in the 2010 through 2012. I don't even think the 2009s had them. But this was a kit off eBay. Kid had put together their Land Rover parts. He put them together in a kit, and I bought it and installed it. I think it's kind of cool. I also have some auxiliary lighting in there. This is being dark carpet. It's a little bit dark back here. Between that and I replaced LEDs in the upper tailgate and get some pretty good light back here. In order to increase cargo capacity, the 60/40 seat folds down, and then it folds against the front seats. And I think that's good. It's not a true flat rear cargo area, but it's pretty close. Just like the headlights, the 2011 has the LEDs incorporated into the turn signals, and I think they might have changed the color of the blinker. We'll have to turn that on and try. I actually wasn't expecting that. So all this is the turn signal. I don't know if you get an extra backup light. You can see the teeny tiny little backup light. I was saying on Col Reb how I'd swap that out with LEDs. If I keep this, I'll probably do that. Even if I decide not to keep it, I might do it. Outside of the non-existent front bumper, the paint on this thing seems to be in pretty good shape. Even on the roof, I'm not going to put it up there and show you, but even the roof looks good. So the mystery with this truck continues. So we've still got the classic split tailgate of the L322. These tailgates are, I'm going to call it 60/40. You know, it's not quite 50/50, but I think it's 60/40. Lifting this up, these feel stronger than Col Reb's. They seem to work better. They might be OEM. Nope. They're aftermarket as well. Maybe they're just newer than Col Reb's. So popping the rear gate down. We've got the same damper. These parts all look very familiar, so those are OEM parts. You can see that the boot is filled with parts, which is kind of nice. I can show you the grill for this thing. Ta-da! A little bit more rounded, a little deeper. You can see where the headlights cut in. If we put the front back together, that bully on us. Dark interior. It's a little bit of a cave back there, and like many of the trucks that I see online, doesn't have a parcel shelf, doesn't have the hard parcel shelf. What are y'all doing with these things? You take them out, throw them in the garage, forget about them, put them in the basement, they blow out and they're tumbling down the highway. What happens to these things? When I take it out to move kids or whatever, that's about the first thing I put back in. To me, the truck feels kind of naked without it. My wife is encouraging me to see a therapist. 2011 is like a 1/10 of an inch longer. I don't know that you can tell a 1/10 of an inch, but it's a 1/10 of an inch longer, and therefore the cargo area is like a 3/10 of a cubic foot more. So maybe you can see it from back there, but the 60/40 seats fold down and then they fold up just like Col Reb. I think that's a fine way to do it. Donna, the diesel, being a completely redesigned truck, has completely different taillights. It's got, even more. I think it's 100% LED. And I really like how the taillight, just like the headlight, wraps around into the side. On the L322, we said that the tailgate split was about 60/40. I'm going to call this 75/25. The split is all the way down here. In fact, they moved the tag from the lower gate to the upper gate. Go ahead, pop it. Electric. That's kind of nice. They were, again, Range Rover was only 10 years behind everybody else, but great to have electrics in here finally. The lower tailgate, as you can see, is only like 10 or 12 inches deep, but that's kind of nice because if you're leaning in, you've got that much less tailgate to lean in to get stuff on the front of the boot. You can see I haven't unpacked from Nashville. Because of the sloping sides, you know, you can really see a trapezoid up here. Because of the sloping sides and the lower roof line, Donner's got like 3 cubic feet less of cargo area. Still have the hard parcel shelf. Didn't lose it. Thank you. One of my biggest annoyances about the L322 is the fact that the seats don't fold flat. Let's take a look at that. So one of the annoying things about the L405 is that the seats don't fold flat. They do fold forward. It's kind of nice. These are reclining seats. They're manual reclining seats. There is an option for electric reclining seats. But in Donna, you pop this thing up and that happens. The front seat's about where whoever rode in there last time sat, and you could see that you've got to open the front door and move the seat forward. Even after you've moved it forward, you can see how much of an angle there is on that thing. It is not close to being a flat rear cargo area. Be a little careful when you're moving mirrors or flat screen TVs. Don't ask me how I know that. So guys, I think that's probably a decent place to stop. We took a look at the exterior of all three, and also took a look in the engine bay. If these things get too long, you start losing people. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it an end to this one. Look for part 2, where we'll get on the inside and see some of the features and maybe take a drive. So for this one, my time's up. I thank you for yours. Be sure to look for the next one, YouTube.